All right, so it's story time. Listen up. This is about motorcycle stuff here. Perfect example of what just happened, all right? I always say to people, you want to ride the bike and not let the bike ride you. Same applies to choosing your wife or girlfriend. You'll probably be in a much better, safer position if you're the one riding her, not her riding you. But yeah, seriously, what just happened? I always people always ask me why I have such a slow bike or a small bike or a starter bike or a girly bike, and I've been riding them for at least the last 7 or 8 years, and very rarely upgrade to bigger, faster ones. I can either make the one I have faster, or I just feel comfortable on the smaller bikes. I'm a small person. For those of you that don't know, right? So perfect example of this. I'm in the parking lot, and I'm pulling into the parking lot actually from just coming in, and I hear a guy yelling, "Help, help, help, help," in the parking lot. And I'm like, it's kind of like dark in the corners or whatever. It's well lit, but he's in the corner of the parking lot, and his bike, it looks like it's about to fall over. It's a very heavy bike, like one of these kind of adventure bikes you guys might see on, I don't know, those Discovery channels, guys that go to Africa in the forest with zebras and shit, and they have all these like 3, 4 big suitcase boxes on the back. It's like the size of a car. I'm weighing it with my eyes. I'm sure this thing totally off-road bike had to be over 1,000 pounds, right? And the guy, poor guy, is just trying to park it, and he's about the same size, if not smaller, than me. Now, you guys know this is going to be the funny part, right? I don't know if Asian people in Thailand, where I'm at here, do they automatically assume all black people are strong as oxes? Like, do I look like I could go pick up half of a fucking Miata with my bare hands? That's actually, for those of you that don't know, Miata's a roughly sub 2,000 pound car, less if you cheat. And if you were, it's perfect 50-50 weight distribution. So if you were to just slice it in half, right? That would be the weight of this motorcycle. Engine, tires, seats, the whole front half or back half of the car is equally balanced. But the question is, can you pick this up with your bare fucking hands? Probably not, right? So why on earth would you buy a motorcycle of this heavy magnitude and attempt to even steer it? This fucker, it takes two grown ass men with no who don't do any weights and stuff like that, obviously, to lift up this fucking motorcycle so it doesn't fall on the ground and the rest of them don't crash like dominoes, one after the other, right? Now, getting back to my point, ride the bike, don't let the bike ride you. All of my bikes, I always check the specs before I buy them to see one important thing. How much does it weigh, right? Now, reason being, I find that any bike really over 400 pounds is really too much for me because I'm a small guy. I'm in the 160, 170 weight class, and I'm also short, under 6 feet. So, that means I don't want to have a big beast of a machine that's going to outride me. And this is a common thing. I'm like, nigga, I'm looking at him like, you're so fucking little. Why are you on this big, gigantic monster of a horse, your magic horse that rides up on high, right? Same with I always see the Harley guys. It's always like the littlest fucking pipsqueaks that ride the biggest. I have one guy at the stoplight said he has a 1700cc Harley, and I'm just looking at him like, why? Dude, you're like 5'3", man. Why you're compensating? I get it, but it's not safe. It's not even safe for a 200, 300 pound man, I don't think, right? You got to have basically a strong core and whatever for riding a sport bike, but for a lot of the heavier adventure and chopper style bikes, it's like, how do you even turn this, or knowing how haphazard this motorcycling is, right? You're not maneuverable in something that's that heavy. It's very sad to say this, but unfortunately, a lot of people that die on motorcycles, they have very heavy and also very powerful motorcycles, right? I watched a documentary yesterday about the guy, what was his name? Kenny Red from the documentary American Pimp, looking at his life story the other day on YouTube, and he died in a motorcycle accident in Las Vegas. But I, curiously enough, researched a little further and saw a video of him riding such motorcycle. And again, it was this big, gigantic, 1,000 pound metal monster that, if a fucking cat or dog ran out in front of the street in front of you, or you have a swerve or someone just pulls out of the driveway or something, you're very difficult. You'd have to, have superhuman reflexes, even if you did, and strength to go and, jug this thing out of the way. Whereas me on a sport bike, it's a twitch of the hips or whatever, and I mostly pilot these things with my leg muscles, if you can't tell by now. But yeah, my point is my bikes are, this CBR, I believe, is probably under 300 pounds actually. But my previous bikes, the Yamaha R3, Honda CBR 300R, Ducati 848, all bikes were, even the Ducati was only 368 pounds, which is good. So you want to have a motorcycle that's lightweight, it's as close to a bicycle as possible. That way, when you do need to maneuver or get out of the way or speed up or zip or dash, you can do so safely. It's better to avoid the accident and situation altogether than to have to do all the helmet, safety gear, and ride down the road like an astronaut. I'm not, when I go out to ride my bike, I'm not riding preparing to crash into shit. Sorry, it's not in the plan. I don't do wheelies. I don't have an extremely powerful bike. I don't ride like an asshole, and I don't outride the limits of what I know the machine is and what my vision and everything else is like that, right? That's all I wanted to say, because I realized that now, or even at some point in the future, somebody might actually consider me to be a role model, whatever. And I don't want to discourage you guys from motorcycles, but just listen up. Like, seriously, go do the training course. It's called MSF in America, Motorcycle Safety Foundation. I did it. What do? You drive around in a parking lot full of orange cones for 16 hours, 8 hours a day, 2 days back to back. You learn all the cornering. You learn to do things the quote-unquote white way, the right way. They say the white way is the right way, but even to do things that I wouldn't, like if you learn to ride a bike from me or someone else secondhand, I'm still not going to be able to impute everything that the course would give you, right? I learned things like how to properly sit on the bike, how to park the bike, how not to get the bike to tip over, which way to turn your wheel, and I mean things that you probably wouldn't know just if you had to absorb it through osmosis or just by watching someone else. So definitely take the safety training course. Definitely, if you have time, take a racing course so you learn the handling limits of your bike and other bikes. You get to learn about leaning in corners and all kinds of cool physics of that, and that'll make you a safer rider. Other thing I can mention here too, okay, on the patio news here. Unfortunately, there's a lot of bike accidents around here, but in actuality, they're usually not bikes, they're scooters, right? Scooters are an inferior alternative to motorcycles because they have very poor, if any, suspension. The tires are the size of a golf cart. They're arguably slow, though there are some faster ones, but you don't have a gearbox, you don't have a clutch, you don't have, I don't know, I just don't like sitting in anything moving like the chair, the kitchen table chair. It's like you're sitting in your kitchen table chair with handlebars. I don't particularly like that feeling. So I don't find that scooters are very safe. I think they're a good beginning step, especially in Asia here. Like probably there's 80 to 90% scooters on the road, and the other 10% are bikes and real actual motorcycles. And I just feel much safer on that. But here's what I want to say though, right? Frequent tourist accidents here on these rental scooters, right? I say to myself, there's these guys that come here. I mean, I'm coming from America, but there's guys that come from all over here, Australia, England, this and that. Much older and richer and more established and all that kind of shit in life. They got retirement, they got pension, they got it made. They're living on the beach. They got money to just go and blow like a casino. It's a good life, right? Well, a lot of these same gentlemen, they go and rent the cheapest fucking scooter they can find, a Honda Click for like $5 a day or something like that. That's a Yamaha Thelano or some little, a little basic girly golf cart style scooter, right? And that's dangerous, man, in my personal opinion. In my very personal opinion, if you've got that kind of money in this, you should have a fucking car or a real bike, or something. But a lot of these guys, tragically, they die on these little fucking scooters. It happens a lot. So I just wanted to bring that up and mention that to you. Don't buy a bike that's too big or too heavy for you, or that's also unsafe, too small, and underpowered. Depending on what city or country you live in, There's a reason I ride the sport bike, because I feel safer on it. I know it's more nimble, Still, maybe not be that fast of a thing, but it's narrow and safe enough, and I have suspension, and it's just better. It's just better. It's a better fit or a better match for me, right? But yeah, so back in America, again, don't get anything, I would say to people, don't get anything bigger than a 400cc if you're starting. Preferably start with a 300 or smaller, actually. And I would say to ride that for like maybe a good 2 or 3 years until you're super comfortable on it. And then maybe, if you get fatter or whatever, you could get a 500, I suppose so. But as long as you stay the same general weight, whatever, you're better off using the same instrument over and over again than to continue switching and hopping around bikes, or even hopping around brands, because every bike behaves a little bit differently. I've noticed the Ducatis are very front heavy, and it feels like you have to be in this weird kind of riding position on the Ducati, kind of like you're climbing a ladder or something. It's kind of a little weird. Yeah. It's the only bike I had that I could actually click my heels together while riding it. It was just the design of the frame. It was very cool, very beautiful piece of art, the bike, but it's just a piece of shit, unfortunately. Very expensive and unreliable. Man, so I would have to say, what have I been on? I've been on the Hondas for the most part. Honda CBRs, yeah, the 150s, the 300s. They are probably the slowest bike out there, but also the safest. But also the best balance, the best fuel economy. It starts every time, never hiccups, whatever. The chain never really gets that. The rear brakes are shit. There's a lot of things that's actually shitty about it, but overall, it was designed well by robots or whatever, right? So that bike gets my vote for the best, bike to have in your stable. You should have at least one Honda CBR, I believe, in your stable. Yeah. But yeah, that's really all I had to say about the bikes, man. Don't outride your bikes. I say rest in peace to Kenny Red, whatever, the motorcycle guy. I mean, I had an uncle myself, actually. He died when I was young in a bike accident, and I believe it was a big bike or a Harley, if I'm not mistaken. But I've told this time and time again to people, like, if you have a bike, please don't get a black bike and wear a black jacket and a black helmet and black shoes and black gloves, because nobody's going to see you. You look like the Shadow or the Ghost Rider. I never do that. My bikes have always been white or neon colored, covered in stickers or racing graphics or something that actually sticks out, that's visible and usually loud. So I've been safe all along. But I say as people, do as I do. Well, if you want to do as I do, don't just fly to Thailand and go get a bike and start ripping around the streets or whatever. I don't want to be responsible for you crashing into a pothole or whatever. I remember I have third world riding skills from Spanish countries, Asian countries, and pretty much all over. So a little bit of that coupled with track experience, I feel very, very, very safe on the roads pretty much anywhere. But I just want to say, you guys, don't be so quick to try and copy what I'm doing without, getting the same level of experience. Unless you ride a motorcycle every day in America, I don't recommend you come to Thailand and get a scooter and just start bugging around on your first trip, unless you're in like an isolated area or island. There is a little island here off the coast of Pattaya called Koh Larn, where you should rent a scooter. If you don't, the dogs will chase you. But it's like a slow, almost dirt road, one lane kind of thing, where it's very safe and a very good learning path for those of you that want to like learn a scooter if you've never done scooters and stuff like that. But that's pretty much it, man. Yeah, you don't listen to what other people say about, oh, you got a little ass bike, it's cheap, it's that, it's slow. It'll probably save your life, man. I've saved my life and preserved my life and whatever by having these little so-called girly starter bikes, and it works just fine for me. So whatever works for you, man. Whatever works. I'll add even another little bit of salt to it too. I would say if you're over even 200 pounds, it's probably in your best interest to lose a little bit of weight, get your weight down, because on the motorcycle your weight is whatever. Like if I have a passenger on the back of my bike, right? My weight, 170, coupled with their weight, the bike becomes it handles more, definitely squats lower to the ground, but it handles more squirrely, right? It requires more skill, I would actually even say, to pilot a bike with a passenger on the back, and you have to do so very carefully. But I'm saying here, it's the equivalent of being fat, I guess. Yeah, so if you're personally 300 pounds or something, even north of 200 pounds, I don't recommend that you ride a motorcycle until you pretty much lose some weight. Don't risk your life, man, if you're not really, if you don't have a strong core, if you can't grip it and turn this thing just with your hips alone, You either need a smaller, lighter bike, or probably just need to lose a little weight, man. I mean, if you look at even the MotoGP race bike, motorcycle racers and stuff like that, they're pretty much like racehorse jockey size, little short, small guys, whatever, or who the machines are actually designed for. Sport bikes I'm talking about, but I can't speak for big bikes. I've never had a cruiser, chopper, Harley, American, anything like that, even though they trained us on cruisers in the training school there I went to. But I didn't like them. I don't like sitting on that bar stool. But anyway, that's all I can say, man. Pick your bike like you pick your girlfriend. Ride the bike. Don't let it ride you. And just be safe, man. Be safe. Have fun. Bikes are a great way to experience the world. And you're actually missing out on a lot on life if you don't have one. One of the reasons I'm actually able to be so productive is because of having a bike. Just to be able to zip around town in any city, country I'm in and be able to do, you can get done probably 3 or 4 times as many things if you never had to sit in traffic. And you could just cut to the front of every light and there's never any delay in your schedule. You guys don't realize how much of your day actually is wasted sitting in traffic and jams and stoplights and whatever because you're not pretty much mobile like a bike. So that's the joy of bikes and whatever to me. It's a great time saver. They're fun and you can't really engage in anything else while you're riding the bike, right? A real bike, actually. Another thing I'll say about Thailand here, I mean, there's a lot of these old timers here, man. They have bike accidents because they break their neck turning, looking at hoes walking down the street. And I'm a man too, this and that. It's like, yeah, I see them in my peripheral vision, but I actually have a gearbox and a clutch and some shit to operate. So I'm very focused while I'm riding the bike. If you guys watch some of those POV videos I threw up there a couple of days ago, you probably see my eyes are like darting all around all the place, whatever, but I'm very focused on what the bike's doing and where I'm going. I'm not concerned with the background noise, but that's another side thing I noticed here. But y'all be safe out there on them bikes, man. All right, peace and hair grease. I'm out of there. Later.